everyone, welcome back to the Capsule in Conversation. I'm Natalie Anderson, and for the next half an hour you'll be joining me, our fashion editor Anna Muse, and this week's very special guest, NEOM founder Nicola Elliot, as we talk all things business, beauty and well-being. So take a breather, find a comfy spot and get ready to join in with our conversation. Hello, hope you're all well out there. Now, for those of you who are used to us, you may have noticed we are lacking one very Yorkshire girl about, our travel expert, Lindsay Thomas. No, we haven't sent her on a fabulous research trip somewhere. Unfortunately, she's not very well today, so she's at home resting up. But we wish her a very speedy recovery. Get well soon, Linz. So that leaves me to introduce the rest of today's gang. She's getting us all glammed up for Christmas. It's our fashion fave, Anna Muse. Hello, Anna.
Hello.
And today's super special guest, the gorgeous founder of NEOM, it's Nicola Elliot. Hello.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Oh no, we're thrilled to have you. Now, anyone who knows me knows that NEOM is one of my most favourite ever brands. And when I was introduced to it about 4 years ago now, I think, I can honestly say it changed my life. I mean, in that time, the brand has grown rapidly, opening stores across the country, and has recently introduced a skincare line to the range. I mean, Nicola, seriously, how are you actually juggling all this?
Well, I think the thing with juggling is you quite often drop a ball, don't you? I am partial to dropping quite a few balls. I think if you can just do that and sort of, you know, don't be a perfectionist, take yourself down to 70%, then that's the best take on life.
Oh my God, I love that.
That is so refreshing.
Yeah, that is really refreshing.
Well, it gets me out of being the rubbish mum on the WhatsApp. That was my strategy.
Yeah, there's always, I think that's me as well. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't answer anything. And everybody's like, oh, have you done this? Have you done that? And I'm like,
Oh, that happened to me this week. Everyone came marching into school with loads of chocolate selection boxes, and I'm like, what's happening? What have I missed? Which WhatsApp or letter home from school? It happens all the time. But I think so often we see women in business with families like yours, and we just think that, like, well, they are super women. But it's so nice to hear you say, actually,
oh no,
every now and then.
Not at all. And I think another great tip is be really nice to one brilliant mum.
Yeah.
So I shout out to my brilliant mum, Amanda. She just reminds me about everything, and I give her a NEOM candle once a season to say thank you, and it's a very good trade.
Oh,
absolutely.
Well done, Amanda.
Great
Yes,
strategy.
that's brilliant. I mean, your background's in journalism. Yes. So how did the actual concept of NEOM come about?
Well, so many things kind of came together at the same time. There wasn't that light bulb moment that so many people think of. I think that's kind of a myth in most instances. So my sister actually works for the WWF. She's a director there now, but at the time was working for Friends of the Earth and was very interested in all things green and all things natural. But this is back in like 2005, right? This wasn't cool at all. I'd go around to a house, the heating was turned off. She was basically wearing a Hessian sack. it just,
so 2005.
Yeah, so 2005. And I was like, everything she says makes sense. But, you know, working at completely the other end of the spectrum in a glossy magazine, I knew the importance of almost sort of remarketing this, of telling this story in a more kind of glamorous, attractive way. And I remember sort of taking her, or going to buy her a present actually, for her birthday, and being at the end of, we used to have an office, our first office is in South Moulton Street, and thinking, I either go to the health food shop and buy her something that I know she's going to want, which will smell like poo and look, you know, not very
great,
nice. Or I go to, you know, Selfridges or somewhere and buy her something absolutely gorgeous with a lovely ribbon on top, but full of stuff that she just wouldn't even consider putting on her body. And as I say, there was no light bulb moment, but I think that was kind of the percolation of a thought that we need to be producing, you know, natural products that are absolutely gorgeous, that work on your well-being. I was simultaneously training as an aromatherapist because I was, really suffering from bad stress and anxiety. So I knew the benefits of aromatherapy oils, but again, they all smelt kind of pretty clunky and basic. So I just thought if we could pull all this together and create something that was as gorgeous as the sort of synthetic counterparts smelt even more beautiful and worked in a kind of real way to help your well-being, but, you know, looked gorgeous and unapologetically so. You know, that's a really important part of anyone using any beauty product. Then that would be the sort of idea for NEOM. So that was the sort of first percolation of it, really.
Yeah.
And then I started blending the oils. And I remember looking around at the time and thinking, all of my friends seem to suffer. And by the way, at this point, we were like 27 or something. So we didn't have kids. We weren't as stressed as we are.
We are. Yeah.
Exactly. But I remember looking around and thinking, everyone I know seems to suffer from stress, poor sleep, lack of energy, or fluctuating moods. If not, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 of them.
All of them together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that became my sort of, you know, if those 4 things are in check, your well-being's in check. Because we talk about well-being a lot,
I was going to say the whole well-being, for me, like the whole concept of well-being. I mean, I like going to a spa and everything, but about 4 or 5 years ago, I wouldn't have never taken it as seriously as I do now, which I take it very seriously. I mean, at the Capsule ourselves, we're very much, you know, devoted to well-being. And I feel like you're a real pioneer of that.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I'd like to think of us as pioneers of real well-being.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, I love the fact that well-being's on the agenda. It's brilliant. It's brilliant for NEOM. It's brilliant for us. It's brilliant for women, men, children everywhere. But I think the kind of watch out is that quite often translates as doing yoga on a beach at 5 a.m. with a green smoothie.
Absolutely.
Or spending hundreds of pounds at a spa. And I think that can be then quite dangerous. And, you know, we then get into that thing where everyone is against clean eating, where actually really clean eating is just eating simple whole food. So when there's that backlash, then it feels a bit of a shame. So I think what we really try and champion is those moments of well-being. And we start by sort of defining it because, I don't think it's about a spa. I don't get...
Nobody's got time to do it, have they? That's what I mean.
That's a treat. That's a treat. So I think it's about sort of saying, right, you know, you can do this in small steps. You can do it, you know, on everyday moments with 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you've got. And actually, let's help you a little bit by sort of defining it because, you know, the gym's part of it and, you know, supplements is part of it. But really, what is it? And then really encourage people to create their own sort of wellbeing toolkit because I know you want the prescription 1, 2, 3. And, you know, we do that as much as we can. But the reality is your wellbeing versus mine is different.
It's different for everyone.
Totally
different. I'm passionate having children, you know, now that we make sure that we encourage them to think about what works for them because really if you don't enjoy it, if it doesn't work for you, if it's not something you want to do, if it becomes something else on your to-do list, you're not going to do it. So I think we say, you know, it's about the best sleep you can get. It's about, you know, lowering your stress levels. It's about working on your mood, which you can work on, absolutely. And it's about, you know, making sure that your energy levels are topped up in the best sort of natural ways. It's not always going to be in balance, but those are the 4 things. And then we sort of talk very much about the ways in which you can do it. And I'm passionate about, look, can NEOM help you? Oh, my goodness. I absolutely believe with every fibre of my being that, you know, aromatherapy oils, when they are blended in the best possible way, the purest possible oils, and they're in at the percentage that we have them in at NEOM, which, by the way, is the legal limit. They are so powerful. Then, my goodness, they can help you. They've helped me. However, nothing is a silver bullet, you know, and that's really important to me. And I think that's quite refreshing at NEOM. We don't say that. It's part of everything. It's like having a gym and saying your bum's going to look like Kylie.
No, I get that. And I love that about you as well, because when you visit your website, when you go to the blog, even when you do, you've done campaigns before. I've taken part in one of the
you
sleep,
have?
the
Thank
sleep
you.
campaigns, which I loved, and I documented it all, and it really made me really mindful, because it made me mindful of thinking it's not just about the product, it's about a way of living, and about me to be mindful of, oh, hold on a minute, why didn't I sleep so well last night? What did, you know, what factors contributed to that? How can I change that in my life? How can I take responsibility for myself? And that's something I really love about NEOM. But also what I love is how much you go to actually getting those products right. I mean, you test them seriously, don't you?
We do, because they have to work.
Yeah.
And I always start testing them with me and my own family. So, and the children are harsh critics, I must say.
I bet they. So do you come up with the
really
blends
are.
yourself still, Nicola?
I do, but we don't do that many new fragrances, because
you've kind of got your signature ones now,
absolutely.
haven't you?
When it comes to Christmas, or we've just launched 3 fine fragrances of perfumes, then I will do, and typically that might take me 200 attempts to get there.
Wow.
So it takes
That's
an
a
awful
long
lot,
time.
an awful lot. But typically now we have our fragrances. But what I will do is, if I'm putting them into something new, magnesium body butter, for example, then I'll test them. And I actually test them on members of my family that are the harshest. So my daughter's pretty harsh. But the boys are worse or better.
Yeah.
Because they aren't buying into anything.
That's true.
Alexa could, be sort of swayed by a lovely cap or a beautiful, box that she wants to take into school to her friends or something. Whereas the boys are, did that work? Did that not work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's put that in the bath after we've played football and we can't feel our legs, and does it give us energy? Or, my son is dreadful at sleeping. Is that going to knock him out?
Yeah.
And the other good thing, because we've launched skincare now, is my husband's really dark. Me and my daughter are in the middle, and my son is fair and ginger.
Brilliant. You're across the board.
We are a testing panel ready-made. So we always start with us, and then we always work with independent, because I can't just do it, obviously, on our own, to be fair. So we have to work with, hundreds of men and women outside of NEOM, and we let them sort of come back with the claims, and I've always kind of got my fingers crossed, but kind of not, because if it comes back and I'm not scoring 88% of people slept better or something pretty high, then we go again. So I think I'm a really fastidious judge of all products that come in. I'm always the one that rejects when everyone else has said that's fine.
I think you have to be, though. I think when it's yours, it's your baby, it's your passion. I mean, my standards are so high, and everyone will say to me, like, it's all right. I'm like, no, it's not. We'll go again. I mean, me and Anna were on a shoot the other day, and literally, we had about 6 different setups, and I was like, I'm not happy. There's no point in this if it's not going to be exactly as we want it, because I think you have to be when it's yours. You've put so much time and effort, and also your name's on it. Do
you know what? There's a million good beauty brands out there. There's not many brilliant beauty brands out there. And same for you with your podcast and your events, etc. There's hundreds of thousands of them. So how do you go from good to great? And I think it's across everything, isn't it? It's the quality, it's the way it's presented. So it's for us a campaign, and how I'm going to tell the story, and how I'm going to put this across, how I'm going to speak to you in a tone of voice that makes sense. The main thing for me is how that product is going to fit into your life. So I don't sort of really start as a product. I start as a problem or a moment in your day. And then I'll think, and that might be anything. We spoke about magnesium body butter. So many of my friends, how do we take magnesium? Tablets aren't that great. Powders, are the powders? And I was like, this vitamin can work transdermally. It's like the wonder mineral. Everyone really could benefit from having magnesium, and actually transdermally, it wins. So it started from So it started from that point of view. Whereas something like a stress busting rollerball or something will start from me having a panic attack in a toilet.
I love that. I love the rollerball.
They're
great.
amazing.
And thinking, when you're having that moment before a board meeting or whatever, where you just need to have a moment. My son did an entrance exam to his school, and one of the little boys in the entrance exam was having a panic attack in the toilet. It's that moment before, isn't it? And that can kind of spark those moments where I think, actually, it's lovely if you can light a de-stress candle of an evening and create that kind of calm zone for your family, or take a bath. But what about those moments where your anxiety is just really, really rising? So they start from different places. That fragrance, Real Luxury, which is the Scent to De-Stress fragrance, was the first fragrance that I developed for myself when I was suffering from really awful anxiety. So you asked early on, how I started with NEOM, and I spoke about my sister. But actually, the thing that kind of really made me think, I'm onto something here, was when I blended that, and actually a feel refreshed one for my husband, who used to come back from football and had
Yeah.
no energy to go out partying. How dare he?
I like that.
Talk about well-being.
Yeah.
Those two fragrances were the two that were sort of really blended for specific needs, and that one was for my own anxiety. And I've spoken about it quite openly, but from horrible anxiety, which, touch wood, I'm not too bad at now, because I think I've got my own wellbeing toolkit in shape, but it can always rear its head, and that is a really important part of the toolkit. So I'm glad it's worked for you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's my favourite as well. And you've already talked a lot about your family, and they're obviously central to everything you do with the business. And you obviously have this global brand now, but live in it's Harrogate that you live, isn't it? So what is that for your family? Do you prefer to be there than say somewhere like London?
Yeah, I do. I feel I'm a bit of a hybrid. So actually, I love having London in my life.
Yeah.
I like that train going into London and the excitement, and I love it pulling out.
Coming out. I'm the same.
Sorry, London.
I love London. It's such an amazing city, but I don't know, just coming out and breathing again,
seeing that green when I come back, and you're pulling in and it's coming into my station is always lovely. And we said before, so many of my friends left central London to go live in Oxfordshire or whatever. The reality is it takes them 2 hours to get into central London. Well, it takes me beyond lower than 3 to get from Harrogate, and it's probably my only time where I get to work, maybe watch an episode of Succession,
The Crown we were talking about.
Exactly, where where that's an important part of my week as well. So I wouldn't like to live in London, but it is an important part of my life, and why shouldn't we move around?
I think it's that work-life balance. I mean, that's something I'm particularly interested in with you, because again, you do have a global brand, you have 2 children, and how, in terms of your I read something that where you said, it might even be on your Instagram, where you were like, after 6 o'clock I'm mum, and you turn off at after 6 and just be mummy. Is that how you have to be that strict with yourself?
Well, I'm mum with the side of, I just need to read this email.
I think we are.
I'd like to say I was that strict. I'm not. I am primarily mum after 6 o'clock, and I'm primarily, working before 6 o'clock. But as we all know, it's not as, black and white as that, is it? I think you've just got to go easy on yourself. We take on all this stuff, and then we try and do it perfectly. Well, it's hard enough to take it on. Then don't try and do it perfectly. You're making it twice as hard for yourself. I think I get through by being a bit of a sloth, actually.
I don't believe that.
I do not.
No, I honestly, everything's just turned down a bit. I'm not that great with the mum stuff. And my clothes aren't really up to scratch. It's all kind of 7 out of 10. But the reality is, in the mix, that kind of work that becomes a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
But I think you're right, and I'm terrible for being a perfectionist. And I'll be like, I like the house to be tidy and everything to be clean. And Natalie knows what I'm like about being on time. We put so much pressure on ourselves for things that actually, who cares if the dishwasher's full and all of it. But I do, but it's trying to let go of the small stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, pick your battles. I'm relatively tidy, but then there's other things that I'll let go. So you just can't be all those things, can you? It is, don't sweat the small stuff. It's outsourced things. I am a productive person, I would say, compared to others.
Yeah.
I think, I get stuff done, and I think the busier you are, that's the irony of it, is you slot things in. I did the Christmas shopping on Amazon in the car park because I was here 5 minutes early.
Yes.
But then I wouldn't put that pressure on myself to go out and wrap them all beautifully. And,
no.
It's those presents will basically do.
Oh my God, I love this. Honestly, you're making me feel so much better, because I got my son some things on Amazon yesterday. Again, when I think I was having breakfast, I was just like, oh yeah, that'll go. He likes that. And now I feel so much better to think, oh my God,
job
Nicola's
done.
The same.
Exactly.
But you started your business, and your children were very young at the time.
They weren't born.
But when you did have them, what things did you have to prioritise to get that business to succeed? So you had 2 small kids, and then what needed
that was
to be done?
really hard.
Yeah.
I have to say that the mum guilt thing, I think when they're very little, it for me was harder because my kids are 9 and 11 now. They're in school. They're at after school clubs. They'd be doing that whether I was at home or I was working.
Yeah, exactly.
They have their own lives now. When it was 2 and they were in childcare because that had to sort of afford my working time, my guilt for that was there. It was there. Luckily, their dad, could do a lot because he was a lot more kind of at home. But it was there. So needs must for us is the reality. I left my job as a journalist. I had a good job earning good money, and I went down to earning nothing, at NEOM. And a brand starts, or any project, I think, always starts with a plum, and it's interesting and it's new, and it's almost like that sort of second album effect happens to everything. Second series of a show, I'm sure, for you, or second, series of a podcast. And for us and a brand, I think it's sort of, that second, third year. Can you keep that going? And actually, that was the hardest time because it was then too late in a way to go back to my old life. But I still wasn't earning the money.
Yes.
And it was really, really tough. And it was a kind of real sink or swim scenario. And I always wonder when, look through the eyes now of raising children, if they don't have that hunger or that need, would they stick with it? Would I have stuck with it? Because I had no choice. We needed to buy food. So I don't know. I think a lot of that probably in those early days was driven by need. And that went on for longer than I would have hoped. Yeah. Definitely. I remember meeting Nikki Kinnaird, who owns Space NK, about year 4 or 5 at a trade show. And she said to me, 9 years to create a really successful brand. And I was like,
wow.
Are you joking? No.
I'm in year 4 now, and I've still got another 5 to go.
And would you say that's now? Would you say that's correct? I
don't want to say yes, but yes.
Really?
For me.
But you see, for anyone on the outside, you see NEOM and you just think, fantastic, global, successful brand with these gorgeous store in Leeds now. And you don't see all of that hard work and that slog at the beginning. You just think, bam, it's there. And obviously it's hard work, but you don't realise.
But I remember when I was in my job in journalism, looking at another brand who I also thought, oh, bam, it's sort of there. Because I think it kind of enters, the mainstream at about that 10-year point. And I think this brand was sort of 13 years old or something. So again, it's what appears to you. It's like that rock kind of
the
tip,
here, and then you see the tip of it.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, because for us, like I've had this conversation with you, haven't I, with the capsule itself? It's been going for 3 years, and we're just starting to kind of, people starting to think, oh, okay, that's what it is. It's all right, I get it. That's what she's doing, And I was similar. I had an amazing job at Emmerdale, but for my well-being and to be with my son, I was like, took a step away from it, and then have really kind of cultivated this business and have big plans for it. And you have to think, you kind of get to yourself where you're like so far down the line that you can't get back. And you're like,
oh gosh.
Oh, okay. We're in it now. We're in it now. There's no choice.
There's no
choice. It makes me feel so much better to know that you have gone through that and that there's still obviously a long way to go. And I think for any listeners out there, women, who will be starting their own businesses, their own brands, to have that knowledge is amazing.
I think you have to have that. And I wish I'd kind of known it earlier. And I remember my dad, who was a businessman, saying to me, I'm going to say this to you once. This was in the real early days. Go for it, because it's actually really easy. And I was like, okay. So I went for it.
Brilliant.
And I remember then coming back to him at about year 5 and going, you told me it was easy. And it's not easy for me. And he went, yeah, I lied.
Yeah, what? That is brilliant. Oh my God, I love that.
Hilarious.
Sorry, I lied. I just want you to do it. Because did you have any aspirations? Obviously, you trained to be a journalist. You worked in journalism. Did you have any business aspirations at all when you...
I always wanted to do something for myself.
Yeah.
I can see that now with my daughter. I was not much of a conformist. Or, if I was doing something, I was like, no, that's not the right way. My way's better.
You can do it better.
I know better.
Yeah.
So I think it was probably in my personality to, be a leader. And whilst I wouldn't say I'm a business person per se, I'm a builder and a creator.
Yes.
And I think that's where I get my joy. I can see the whole 360. I can see the product and how we'll talk about it and how the shops will be in. I have this vision, and I think that is my one skill. So I think I always, I wanted to exercise that. I wanted to work for myself, but I didn't know it was going to be so hard. And it was harder and it did take longer. And the other thing people ask me for business advice is there are other ways to skin the cat. And, you can get funding. We didn't get funding. We self-funded.
Yeah.
So you either do what you're doing and you own it entirely and, it's longer and it's harder and it's slower. But at the end of it, you own
yours.
it. It's yours. You have the control and you will own whatever the company's worth at the end of the day. Or you do, like so many of these amazing digital brands do, and you get that funding early on and, you becomes a unicorn billionaire. And, do you know what I mean? There are ways to do it. It's not that way or that, there's choices. But I didn't want to do it that way. I wanted to retain control.
And in terms of going forward with the brand, like I keep thinking, will there be a NEOM spa at some point?
Well, we have in our Guildford store, we have a spa above. So I spa loosely, it's 6 treatment rooms and it is beautiful. And we also have the same in our Wimbledon store as well. So, and the NEOM treatments are amazing, but we actually do those primarily through our partners because, if you go to, say, a Rockcliffe Hall, which is, a NEOM partner, it's so beautiful there. Those guys can do that. And there's several more in the north, but that's just one I like to go to myself.
Yeah, it's lovely.
So I think it's about partnering up really with people. But if you wanted the full NEOM experience, unfortunately, we don't have one in the north, but we do have one in Guildford. We do have one in Wimbledon.
So what are your plans then? Because you don't strike me as someone who ever sits still, Nicola. Like I imagine that you've always got another idea or something else that you want to do. What is the future for NEOM?
Yeah, I think actually at the moment I have got loads of ideas and I am the ideas person. In fact, in a way, I go into the office and I say, I've had an idea. It might be about just a merchandising unit. And they all go, no, because they've got, this pile of ideas to kind of get through. I think really it's about really expediting our message at the moment.
Yeah.
As you guys said, I think now, NEOM, if I speak to women of our sort of demographic and our sort of, loose, wider age group, they'll pretty much know NEOM. And
Absolutely.
I think it's now about putting our foot to the gas and making sure that everyone knows about NEOM. Sure, there's new products. I mean, I have to pull back on products because products to me just keep coming. I've got too many on the list for next year. I've done too many this year and I've just finished Christmas 2021. So
my God.
I'm stupidly far ahead with all of that sort of stuff. So there's loads of products, if that's what you're asking. And we have plans now to really crack the US. I think that's another area that we really need to focus our attention on. But really, I think it's about now expediting that message because it's working. And now we just need to sort of, go with it.
Yeah. And how do you, you talked about it coming from your need to manage your anxiety and de-stress. So now that you're director of this amazing company that's global and so much going on, how do you, on a day-to-day basis, what does it look like for you? What's your version of well-being?
So I always feel like with your well-being, something to bear in mind is prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
Because if I get to a point where I've got anxiety, to pull it back from that is 10 times harder. So that's an important point for me. My toolkit really consists of, I'm kind of a natural introvert, even though I'm quite kind of outgoing and I'm talking to you now. I like time on my own.
Yeah.
So knowing that and knowing how to sort of maximise that is really important for me. So that is an important aspect. I like to exercise. It makes a huge difference for me if I'm exercising or not exercising. And I'm like everyone else. A week can go by and you didn't get a chance to go.
Yeah,
exactly. But I think I've got 2 dogs and getting outside in the fresh air with them, even if it's just 20-minute walk around the village, is really important. So I have to get some kind of exercise in. I eat relatively well. Again, people don't like the clean eating phrase. Is it clean? Is it whole foods? Whatever. Proper food.
Yeah.
Is important. I'm trained as a nutritionist when I trained as an aromatherapist. I'm pretty au fait with keeping, my food groups in check. And I notice if I have a day of pizzas that I feel absolutely awful. So that's important. Supplements to me that I take every day. I'm a bit of a supplement queen. So I take fish oils. I take B vitamins. I take CBD oil. Really like
right.
I've heard
Yeah.
of CBD oil.
CBD oil.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
I think that's really great. I take a probiotic. And then I might take some greens. I don't always take compressed greens, but I might do. So supplements is an important thing. Sometimes some extra, more vitamin D during the winter. I've taken a spray, and sometimes I take vitamin C, but not always. So supplements are an important part of my well-being. And I think, yes, that mental space is important, not sweating the small stuff and letting your well-being, whether it's taking that bath and making that bath work harder for you. In reality, that's sometimes all I've got time for. I love to use the Calm app, but I'll use it for 10 days and then not for 10 days.
Yeah.
But I am really, really mindful of taking that bath. Actually, I'm quite religious at bedtime. So I'm upstairs at 10, in the bath by 10 past, reading my book by 25 past for 10 minutes. I mean, my husband is like...
But do you know, I think that's really important. And I read somewhere, I'm always reading about things, but as children, we really respect that bedtime ritual and those sleep cues. But as we get older,
They go out the
we
window.
go out the window and we don't give up. We're on our phone, like scrolling and answering emails in bed until, the moment before we go to sleep. And actually, that ritual, it's all
Absolutely.
signalling to your body that it's time to
There's a
switch
great
off.
book if you're interested in. So in fact, even if you don't have a problem with sleeping, it's just a brilliant book to read called Why We Sleep, I think it's by Matthew Syed, and it's fantastic. It really explains the science behind sleep and how you can get better sleep hygiene, really.
Yeah.
But keeping to exactly to your point, that routine as an adult is so important.
Yeah.
Make that routine what you want.
Yeah.
Set times when you want. Is it a bath? Is it a shower? It's up to you. For me, if I don't have that bath, and if I don't follow that routine, I know my sleep won't be as good.
Yeah.
It just won't be.
Yeah.
So that's really important too.
Oh, well, unfortunately, our time has run out today. I'm literally like, oh no. They're like going, come on. I'm like, oh no, I can't. We've got so much more to talk about. But thank you so much for coming to see us today, Nicola. It has
Thank
been
you.
absolutely amazing to have you. I mean,
Thank you.
Please
Thanks
come.
for asking
Yeah.
me.
Come back anytime. We've
I
got
will.
so much more to talk about. But so just to say, everybody, remember you can catch up with all of our content online at www.thecapsule.co.uk/in-conversation or subscribe to our various podcast channels and YouTube. And don't forget to leave us your rates and reviews, as we love to hear your thoughts and feedback. We'll be taking a short break now until the new year, so we wish you all a very lovely, merry and stress-free Christmas, and we'll be back with more In Conversation and special guests in January. But for now, it's goodbye from Anna,
Goodbye and Merry Christmas.
goodbye from Nicola,
Goodbye. Stress-free Christmas from me.
and goodbye from me. Merry Christmas.